And for being able to introduce those who are here, how can I do that? Excuse me? It can be. Oh, okay. All right. Yes, please. Okay, thanks. Oops. So, starting here for now. So, greetings, all dear Dhamma friends and venerables here at our Dhammadharini Monastery. And nice to see everyone. And also friends and venerables from far and wide. I can see some of you here on the Zoom together, and I know there are more who are joining via YouTube and Facebook Live. And I've come in from our Aranya Bodhi Awakening Forest Hermitage on the Sonoma Coast just a couple of hours ago to our Dhammadharini Monastery. And so we have another group of monastics who are at our forest hermitage for the Vassa, but I came today together with a couple of those who are joining me for the Vassa at Aranya Bodhi. And I'd like to introduce you to who's here together at our monastery this evening for all of you. And so to my side here, I have Venerable Bhikkhunī Sucitta Mahateri and also Ajahn Brahmawara. And then here on this side, then Venerable Bhikkhunī Sopana Therī Ayasopana. And then next to her, also Seminary Anuvidita, who is joining us for the Vassa now at Aranya Bodhi Hermitage, who came in together today with our, thanks so much to our tech support, Anagarika Tavira here. I don't know if it's possible to show her or not, but we came together from Aranya Bodhi. And then also our Facebook star now. People really love someone cutting off their hair and going into the robes, don't they? It's like more popular than almost anything else that we do. So I'm absolutely delighted to be able to offer the opportunity to our friend Sophie, now Anagarika Panyatara, to undertake the Anagarika precepts for the Vassa, and very nice to see her again and glowing. And then also behind the camera here, I don't know if it's possible or not, but you don't necessarily have to show, and plus you have to peek around here. So two of our friends who are here have also just a short time ago undertaken the 8 precepts. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Cameron and Jen undertaken the 8 precepts as nekama. Now today, before this program. So let's all just send our loving kindness to all of them and absolutely wish them the best in their noble quest and their application, applying themselves to what is most noble and venerable in their own hearts, and not only privately in their hearts, but also in how they're showing up in the world together. So just to appreciate that and wish them all the best. And also those who are at our Aranya Bodhi Hermitage right now, just send them thoughts of metta and kindness and good wishes to those who have stayed behind in the forest on this new moon evening. So it is the first new moon Uposatha of the Vassa, which means that we entered the Vassa, which means rainy season or monsoons, but here in Northern California, it's not the rains, it's the dries. So we're full on in the midst of the dries. Fortunately, we've been getting good fog at Aranya Bodhi Hermitage, which is so important for the redwoods to be able to live. They live well on the fog drip. So all around, to everyone near and far, as the Buddha says, above, below, around, and everywhere, thinking about sending out our shout out, our greetings of loving kindness and blessings. And welcome to listen to the Dhamma. Welcome to join in the meditation and Dhamma contemplation discussion time together. So I'm going to give a brief introduction to our Vassa Uposatha Program. And this is the first of 6 gatherings fortnightly during the 3 months of the Vassa. So twice a month on the new moon and on the full moon times 3 months, then we have 6 Uposatha gatherings. And I started offering this during the last winter retreat, and then there were requests and a suggestion to continue during the Vassa this year. So I'm glad to be able to do that. And thanks to everyone who asked, and especially to everyone who's offered the support that makes it possible to share Dhamma like this freely, without any expectation or reward other than just the goodness of the path and the Dhamma sharing. So I absolutely love this in this way of life. It makes my heart so glad, and I rejoice in it together. And everyone near and far who is a part of this, due to what they're offering, what they're sharing, and including especially the offering of giving our hearts to the practice, giving our hearts to the path. So now I'm going to give an introduction to these 6 Uposatha programs. Maybe I have to ask somebody to stand on the other side, sit on the other side of the camera a little bit taller, so I have something to look at other than the camera. A person who's present. Okay, we'll see. Hopefully that makes it better. Otherwise, I want to look at everyone who's here, and I'm looking down, but the camera is not there. So our 2021 Vassa Uposatha Program is entitled Exploring Cittānupassana. And as some or many of you will know, then we've decided as a community with Dhammadharini at both our monastery and our hermitage this Vassa for 3 months to really be focusing on looking into the teachings, exploring the teachings on Cittānupassana, and practicing, exploring the practice of the teachings on Cittānupassana, and see what we discover, what we learn, what we glean, the insights that may be gained from this work that was taught and so highly recommended by the Buddha. We've had periods of time in past where we've given months or longer focused on mindfulness of the body. I know for myself, I've found that enormously fruitful to work for years with mindfulness of the body up till now. And I'm not giving up on the mindfulness of the body practice during this time, but working with mindfulness of the body, then we see actually how mindfulness of feelings is like nested so closely together. It comes up. You might think you're trying to practice mindfulness of the body, but feelings will come up. And so then practicing with mindfulness of feelings, but how to do so consciously and well. How did the Buddha teach to do so? How did he instruct and guide? And then also, of course, awareness of mind and mental states comes up as well, and you start to begin to see the relationship between your mind and mental states, and then how that's impacting feelings and the body, or how the body and feelings are impacting the mind and the mental states, and the relationship between these. And this is so valuable to see and know for oneself. And so Cittānupassana is focusing in on mindfulness of mind and mental states, and particular mental states that the Buddha recommended taking a look at. Qualities, whether they're present or whether they're absent. And for our first month of the Vassa, for this Uposatha program on the new moons and full moons, we're going to be exploring the hindrances and disentanglement. So this being the new moon of the first month, then I'll be looking into this topic. We'll be looking into this topic together. And then on the full moon, Ayasopana, Venerable Bhikkhunī Sopana Therī here with me, then also she'll be leading up another program exploring the hindrances and disentanglement. We may have guest monastic speakers. They don't necessarily have to be monastic, but we plan to have guest speakers. So I know I myself have been hearing and seeing, now that my mind is turned towards Cittānupassana, then I'm really noticing in some of the teachers' teachings unique and really interesting and important ways that they are talking about and working with Cittānupassana. And I feel like I would like to invite some of them, whether those who were with us on Dhamma Day, who we heard from for 5 minutes, and then I got the feedback from people, wow, that was fascinating. That was so interesting. I would really like to hear more than 5 minutes and have time to be able to discuss. So we may be hosting some of them during this time. So the whole 3 months, this program will be led by Ayasobana and myself, but we may be inviting in other teachers to discuss, explore, have dialogue and inquiry together during this time. So in the second month, then we'll be exploring the exalted states of mind. That's in September. The September new moon will be led by Ayasobana. And then the September 20th full moon, which is just after not only the inauguration of our Dhanasala, but after hopefully 2 days of ordinations here. Seminary Papaja on September 18th, which is also my birthday. So what a great gift, hopefully for Anagarika Tavira. We delayed for 1 year due to pandemic for her. So I feel like her time is coming to be right now. I hope so. May no harm befall her or any of us. And then September 19th, we have 4 applicants for full bhikkhunī ordination, bhikkhunī upasampada. So then if I survive all that, I haven't gone to a Deva realm or to Parinibbana after all of that. Then the day after the September 20th full moon, the founding anniversary of our Bhikkhunī Sangha, then I'm to be meeting with you and leading up, speaking about the exalted states of mind and exploring them together. And then, as if that weren't enough, it all seems enough to me. I feel like, oh, it's all enough. The third and final month, then we'll be exploring the Cittānupassana teachings on freedom, vimutti. So exploring freedom on the new moon again. This will be led by Ayasobana. And then on the full moon, which is the final full moon, completing the 3 months of the Vassa, I'll be leading up on October 20th, if all goes well. So I want to welcome everyone to these programs. I hope you'll be able to join in as much as possible. And just to say, for the Uposatha, also in the morning of each Uposatha day, we'll have time for undertaking and renewing refuges and precepts, California time, 8 to 8:30 a.m. With a Dhamma talk on the intersection between Sila and Cittānupassana, because there are such strong connections there. And then, as I've been talking about, our Dhamma and meditation program in the evening from 7 until 9. So that is the overview of what we have cooked up to offer and to share to our beloved community here and far and wide, for everyone who likes to join in together. So I hope this will be for all of our long-term benefit and happiness, the happiness that it gives us. You can say sadhu, it's okay. But you have to do a little bit more loudly or I can't hear you. Yeah, other people can't hear you also. There's a little faint sadhu in the background there. So now we're going to begin with meditation time. And this will be partly guided and partly silent. And the guided part of the meditation will be related in some way to Cittānupassana, working with Cittānupassana. So please find your good and happy and comfortable meditation spot, or at least the best that's possible, recognizing it's just not always possible to be fully comfortable physically, is it? These bodies are really can create practically innumerable kinds of pains and discomforts, large and small, and then sometimes it seems like one after another, almost without break. But in fact, if we look closely for our bodies, and especially if we look closely for our minds likewise, checking in with our minds and seeing what's going on there, what's being created or not created there. Now is the time for this. So we'll begin with finding our good physical posture. Sensing the balance and checking in with what's going on with the body. Lifting it up if it's gotten crushed down. Opening it up if anywhere has gotten closed. Rebalancing if anywhere has gotten off balance. Just becoming sensitive, touching into our felt sense of the whole body in the space in which we're sitting, and noticing the places of touch, contact. There are our legs or our bottom on the seat, and just noticing where the places of touch, contact show up. An elbow, eyebrows, or the top of the head, and around the whole body, seeing where we notice that sense of touch and it's showing up, and then out of that we create, out of those points of light or color or feeling, how we create, then imagine the form of the body, noticing those points of touch. Also then the intention with regards to the body, like the opening, releasing, relaxing, calming, becoming more fully present and aware, seeing with the body as a sounding board in a way, how those thoughts that have become words that you've then heard and have become thoughts for you, how quickly they're effective, how quickly the body changes with such brief and subtle suggestions, guiding and directing thoughts. Noticing what's actually going on as well, even without trying to guide or direct anything except the awareness, just to notice how the things actually are. With the body, and also with the mind. How are you feeling? What's it like right now? Is there any aversion, whether larger or smaller? Feeling any dislike about anything? Maybe you weren't, but as soon as you search for it, then you find something. Like when the mind is directed to look for something, then you remember and start to bring it up and open it up. Just seeing how that works so quickly. Then also likewise, the invitation to put it down, just to see how it works, what that is, how quickly our faculties, when asked to bring something up, when asked to make a connection, how quickly, with just the thought and the idea, they're able to do so. So obediently, in a way. But of course, it's not always so obediently, is it? Just to know and to recognize that. But now we're practicing. This is a training, a path of practice. So we're learning how to be conscious and intentional about what we bring up, what we pick up, what we open up, what we look into, and then also conscious and intentional about what we choose. Likewise, like picking up a book and opening it, seeing what's there, and then choosing to turn the pages to something else, or choosing to close the book and put it down. We know in our hands, we know in our bodies how to do that. Likewise with our minds, picking something up and putting it down. Just learning comfortably in this good situation for exploring and practicing. A mind devoid of ill will. What's that like? Is that our situation right now? Noticing the absence when things are not present. Like with the body. A few minutes ago I had knee pain. Now I'm not noticing knee pain. I'm noticing the cooling sensation of Bengay. It's changed, it's different. Noticing presence and also noticing absence. This is enormously important to really give at least equal time, at least equal air time, but it means mind time, attention time, care time to seeing what's absent, compared to the anger that we felt in past, that we might remember, or the dislike, whether intense dislike or mild dislike of something that we felt in past, what that was like. I mention this and I can You can see in your body what happens just in a brief thought like that. I feel like looking at the heart and talking about this intense or mild dislike, and then just seeing what happens to the heart just at the idea. Yeah. And then recognizing, not right now, not this, in this space right now. No, that was a thought, that was a memory. How quickly it's impactful and effective. What it feels like if we then allow ourselves to put that down and return to the absence of ill will, free from ill will. And those entanglements or convolutions, contortions in the heart that were arising, how they realign and settle and open and rebalance. How good, how healthy, how beautiful that is. Dear heart, I give this gift to you. Dear body, I give this gift to you. Dear friends, dear loved ones, dear world, I give this gift to you. And to myself, to all as to myself. The opposites, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world with a heart of loving kindness. Without hostility, without ill will, I will abide. That turn, invocation, turning the mind and heart the other way, the opposite, and seeing what's that like, the sounding board of the body and the feelings, and what's happened to my mind and heart. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Opening up, letting go of afflictions, falling away, opening up, and sensing what was bound and constricted or in tension or in friction in the mind, and thus also so in the body, becoming broad, open, smooth, beautiful. Mahagatena, Vipulena, vast, measureless, unlimited, that great heart that's become broad and expansive, unentangled, freed, set free. How beautiful. Within a matter of a few short minutes, changing so quickly, just turning our mind, directing our mind in a different way through our intention, through our choice. We can practice likewise with greed. Lust, desire, craving. Where do we feel that in the body? What do we see? What comes up in the mind? How does it feel when I mention those words? What mental states is it evocative of? Are they comfortable or uncomfortable? Our society and culture has the tendency to glorify greed, desire, lust, place it up on a pedestal as if that were like the top meaning of human life. Be born, try to satisfy your desire and lust as much as you can, then die. Meanwhile, there's a lot of struggle and suffering. But always like the next commercial, the next billboard is there saying, indulge your thirst. This will make you happy. We can check for ourselves how much and for how often, for how long does that work? And what's it like when we're not on the hook, biting the hook, the next bait, the next thing to be consuming? What's it like to be off the hook? What's it like with the barb removed? Not needing to be compelled obsessively to be looking for the next and the next to consume and consume and consume, or consume and destroy. What does it feel like in the body when I say these words? The heart, the mind. Can you see, can you feel the stress and tension, the anxiety? Could you feel the sense of deadness at the thought, the realization that none of these things can be truly satisfied. None of them really do work in the way that's so often advertised. That lovely bait came with the hook, and the hook pulled back. For a moment it seemed fine, but then the hook pulled back, and I felt caught in so much pain. Betrayed by the world, by the advertisers. But we have the ability. This is imagination. Speaking these thoughts, these ideas. This is imagination only. It's not that it's unreal. But we create these worlds. And many different possibilities for our experience. What worlds we create with our thoughts or don't create. Even just the absence of craving, the absence of that feeling compelled and needing more and more. Just to sit and open up and see what it's like to just let that go. And what it's like to feel fine just as is. Not needed, even for a few minutes or moments. Wow, so comfortable. It's not at all like nihilism. It's not at all deadening. It's just the opposite. It's as if now you can truly breathe. And in a way, now you can truly live. Truly be alive. Live wholly. At ease. And comfort and peace. How awesome. How amazing. And we turn our attention to these experiences and we know them. Many other people's deluded discursive ideas about this path or what the Buddha taught, you won't believe them anymore. They said that because they don't know. They're just thinking something, they heard something, because they don't know, that's all. When we know for ourselves, we know. To develop comfort, confidence, and ease, like a touchstone that we come to again and again, tending not only to the presence of the afflictions, but to the many times and places and spaces of their absence, and what that's like. We put the grasping down. We give ourselves permission not to need to be seeking and trying to get more. Just come into ourselves, open up our awareness and presence of mind in the absence. Opening that up. Getting comfortable and familiar with it. A touchstone we can come back to, and touch into again and again. If there's something in your mind or heart that says, but, and you feel the grasping, seeking faculty come up and say, but, aren't I supposed to be craving something? Aren't I supposed to be seeking something? Aren't I supposed to be trying to grasp something? Like you take a crying child with loving heart in your arms and soothe that child and bring to your lap or to your chest till that child starts to relax. And calm down, become calm, become good. Or like you can put your hand on something in your environment and pick it up and then set it down, place nearby to you. Grasping, I will pick you up again when it's the proper time, the proper meaning, the right time to be grasping something. You're an important faculty with the right purpose. Like my hand, to be able to pick up a cup or put it down. It's proper, but it's the compulsion, the obsession, the never stopping, going to things that are not healthy, not wholesome, not useful. This is the part that we just settle. We settle, we just sit down. May we use our faculties cleanly and rightly and well in the right time. Be able to pick up and put down, not obsessively, compulsively, not in a way that just fuels affliction, afflictive states. If we see ourselves do that, recognize, bring it back, come back into ourselves. Use all of these things well, train ourselves to use them well for their right purpose, to be able to pick up and put down the proper things at the right time, using them in the right way. Coming here from the forced hermitage in the vehicle, I put myself into bondage, fastening the seatbelt, tight and constrictive. But I understand it's the right time, the right meaning. It's a support, it's a help. When I arrive, then arriving here, then unclip, unfasten, open up, let go. I can walk freely. I don't have to carry it with me. Like this. Train ourselves to see, to know, to observe. And then consciously to pick up, put down right things at the right time. Training with small things, starting light. Training with the things that are slightly bigger. Just training, getting used to how it works to be conscious and intentional about our use of these mental faculties, working with these mental states. Cittānupassana. Looking into, seeing, knowing, and applying our knowledge well and wisely. Mindfulness, right effort. This is right effort. Base, fundamental basis of right effort. Knowing what to pick up, knowing what to put down, what's to be developed, what's to be let go of, left behind, released. This is also clear comprehension, sati plus sampajanya, intuitive awareness, clear comprehension. Is it kusala or akusala? Is it helpful or not helpful? Is it benevolent or not benevolent? Wholesome or unwholesome? To be done or not to be done? Clear comprehension. In theory, then in the ground, mind ground, ground of the path, ground of the practice, with real hands-on. Like looking at the cookbook, and then you have the ingredients in your hands and the tools in your hands, and you explore. And you can find out how it works. And is the resulting nutriment good, healthy, wholesome, beneficial, or not? If not, we decide not to make it like that again. Why should we? Look back at the cookbook again, check with others who know. We can ask, listen to them, watch the cooking show on YouTube, Facebook Live, Zoom. Here we are. Nutriment, the nutriment of life, the nutriment of the past. Truly, The one thing. The Blessed One, the Buddha, spoke about this is the one thing. To be known, to be seen and known clearly, to be understood. And the path to be developed. Cultivated. We make our intention clear. Set ourselves on course with this clear intention. Let this intention go to our faculties of body, feelings, mind, this Dhamma, the foundations, the basis for training. We have them all here together in our hands with us. Finding our balance, our bodies, hearts, and minds centered in this intention centered in us. Allow it to become expansive and pervasive within ourselves. Established. A clear, self-guided, Buddha-guided, Dhamma-guided reorientation and alignment. The ground of all truly excellent, peaceful, sublime, even liberating good qualities. It's good to spend a long time here. It's good to come back and touch in again and again, even briefly, over and over again. Touch in briefly, stay for a while, regularly, to remember to do so. Recognizing the absence of the hindrances. Their presence, also their absence. What is absent? What's the quality of the mind? What's it like? Really getting to know what it's like. Times, spaces, absence of hindrances. Spending enough time there. At least as much time as when we're looking at and focused on giving attention to various afflictions. Likes and dislikes, wants and wanting to get rid of. Desires big and small. Irritations large and small. The absence, time without. Just disentangling, unbinding, opening up, releasing, and abiding in the unentangled awareness, in non-affliction. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. And so I feel like the meditation is already the Dhamma talk. And I have companions here, also those who are joining together online via Zoom, who have practiced a lot, contemplated a lot, already been working with Cittānupassana for at least the last 2 weeks, if not years and years. And so I'm interested actually in opening up this time now with the invitation made for those with little dust in their eyes. Opening up this time now to share one's experience, or to ask questions, to reflect back on what we've heard, what we've been working with on this theme, to share with others. And I don't know if I may need some tech support assistance in this regard, to be able to open up in this way. Ayasopana, you have what you would like to share on this topic? You don't have to. We can ask. Yes? You're welcome. Also, I can repeat back what I hear if it's not too long. Do you have a thought about this topic, a Dhamma thought that you would like to share? Or something you would like to ask about what I was saying?
Tangled up in favor and opposing. Samadhi, by right effort and but when samadhi, we have that natural fading away of the automatic reactions, so that one experiences rather than being pulled and pushed. So I think that in combination with the practice of samadhi, right meditation, is the most powerful of this concept.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Let me just do a check-in and see whether others were able to hear Ayasopana. Barbara, were you able to hear Ayasopana? Do we have a way to?
Not at all.
Not at all. Oh, I see.
Sorry, Ayasopana. I don't know what happened.
Is there a way to switch back and forth between these or no? Don't worry, it's because I'm using this mic right here, and so that's why you're not able to hear her. And apparently there's not a way to easily switch back and forth between the mics.
Okay.
So I'll see if I can summarize what Ayasobana was saying. She has been contemplating upon how important samadhi is for working with these pairs of hindrances, what a support it is, and what a basis for the mind. Now I'd be paraphrasing, but to calm and strengthen the mind and provide a refuge, time away from. She didn't say this. I'm saying this now. What I said first was rephrasing what she said, but now I'm going beyond that, and I'm interpreting what she said. Does that seem right, Ai? Yes. Okay. Is there a part that you mentioned that I missed that you feel is important to be recaptured?
My idea is that getting caught up in like and dislike and those kind of attitudes.
Getting caught up in like and dislike and those kinds of attitudes.
It can be drastically reduced when we have right view.
It can be drastically reduced when we have right view.
And when we have
when we have right intention.
And right mindfulness.
And when we have right mindfulness. And she also said earlier, when we make right effort. Yes, yes.
But
it's with the development of Samma Samadhi that we can experience the freedom, Ayasobana says. I'd just like to comment a little bit about this because there are quite a lot of different teachings on samadhi and samadhi practice, and some samadhi teachings and practices really are more like the English translation of concentration. So they're like, in a way, like an act of will of the mind to gather everything together, and then to, like, in a way, almost to compress it all together, and then to concentrate. And then to apply one's mind with concentration. And samadhi states can be gained like this. I would say over time that this way of practicing with samadhi would tend to suppress through an act of will, withdrawing the mind and then really concentrating and applying the energy and directing one's mind in like one pointed direction of the mind in this way, applying and directing the mind in this way, then the hindrances can be suppressed. And then one experiences having been able to suppress and put down those hindrances for that period of time, and a temporary sense of freedom that comes from the hindrances being suppressed. And that is valuable. And sometimes in that space, in the space, like in a way in between entering into or emerging from such really concentration, then with that, making the mind like really concentrating its energy and power, it can be used in a way then that can penetrate views, and then one can gain insight in this way. And some teachers compare this to being, like a laser, and really concentrating all the power and energy of the mind in a way that can be penetrative like this. Or at least, even if insight is not gained, then it can be a break from being actively engaged in afflictive mental states, which is really great to have, and doesn't require alcohol or drugs or numbing oneself by watching useless, idiotic things, or just none of that is necessary. We have the power to do it, and that is such a big relief and such a big benefit. I'd also like to say that there are ways of practicing with samadhi in teaching and in practice that are somehow, in a way, almost the antithesis or the reverse of that process. And it's through the releasing and through the letting go of all of the things that there seems to be then like a deepening and an expansiveness or expansion, and then an opening and a clarifying, and then like further and further levels of just releasing and opening and clarifying. And this, it seems to me, has a different kind of effect on the hindrances. It's not so much suppressing them, but rather there's the letting go of them, and then there's the sense of the deepening through opening and release, and likewise then experiencing the great expansive, clear, sublime, peaceful, excellent states of mind. And likewise, when one is entering into such states, or with the mind very highly purified and excellent, then emerging, if one then applies one's mind to various matters of insight, or even just what it seems like truly important in the path to see and know and apply one's mind to, then things can be seen and known differently because of the clarity and the purity and the strength, the power of the mind. And I'd say the after effects of these two methods are different. So if anyone has practiced in these different ways, there are some teachers who I know who teach more the like concentration kind of method, this first method, and even outside of Buddhism in some of the yogic disciplines. And then if we look inside Buddhism and inside Theravada Buddhism, then some teachers like Ajahn Brahm maybe teaching more of this like releasing and opening and deepening methods. And it's interesting because someone might think about nimitta, or the like light signs of light that can appear in the mind through concentration, but can also appear when the mind really like clarifies, and having released, having let go of so many things, then it's like, in a way, something like some kind of fabric of the mind then appears bright, and can appear brighter and stronger and more clear and more what is it, like unified in a way. Means like there's nothing else. The perception is there's nothing else besides that. There's nothing else in perception that's happening besides that. And unification of mind then also is one of the reasonable translations of samadhi. And also then Ajahn Brahm likes to speak about stillness. So with the ceasing of these activities of the hindrances or the afflictions, then the having put it down and let it settle and calm and clear, then the perception of stillness. Yes. So then stillness isn't a literal translation of samadhi, but can be used as a translation. So I just wanted to share these thoughts about these two different methods earlier on in my monastic life, I encountered more teachings like the former kind of the concentration kind of methods. And then later on in monastic life, somehow I've been inclined more to the teachings that are more related to the releasing and the letting go, and the second category that I was speaking about. And then if a person does encounter these different teachings and practices, and they may notice for themselves there's actually really like a qualitative or quantitative, qualitative is a better word, difference both in the process, and then you'd say like the abiding, and then also the after effects. So I've heard people mention this and talk about this, and relating some things that I've heard in the past discussions amongst meditators. And now I'd like to pause on that topic and then see if someone else would like to share something. Aya Suchita or Aya Pramawara, is there something you would like to share? Yes, please, if it's easy to do that, welcome. Thank you to our tech support. Give blessings to our tech support. The computer microphone is on. Okay. Yes, please. Great. You don't have to go so far. Come back. Come back. Yes, that's good. Thank you.
First of all, thank you so much, Aya, for the guided meditation, because I found it really profound. And as you say, it was also like a talk, but there was so much there. One of the things that really struck me, and I'd sort of like to ask you a bit more about it, is you were encouraging us to sort of seek out and see if there was any kilesa, if there was any desire or aversion in the mind. And I find that a really interesting suggestion and practice. And, because we can be sitting feeling really calm and peaceful. And actually, then when you, in a way, turn the laser or turn the light and shine it around a bit, kind of interesting
what you find when you turn the light on in the room and you look around. Yes.
The dark corners.
Yes,
so
yes.
I'd be so grateful, like, if you could say a little bit more about that practice.
The mic is switching back over again now. And we don't have to turn it entirely away from Ajahn Pramawara. We can leave her here. So thank you for mentioning that. Appreciation appreciates appreciation, right? So I suppose it might be good to say at this time that in the Buddha's canonical Satipatthana teachings, Mahasatipatthana Sutta, then the 4 bases or 4 foundations for establishing mindfulness are taught. Mindfulness of the body, and also of breath is with the body, mindfulness of feelings, and mindfulness of mind and mental states. And these mental states that I was speaking about are mentioned. And not only in that one sutta, but in very many suttas. And there is a direction to look out for them. And I find this really valuable and interesting because one, normally we wish to look away from them, and we'd feel like we're better if we can pass some time without seeing them in ourselves or in others, and have a few minutes or a few hours or amazing, like a few days. Could it be possible to not see them? And then people do a lot of things to try to not see them. And one of the elements that we didn't speak about that's very much a part of this work is actually the mind that is associated with delusion or pervaded by delusion, or the mind that is devoid of delusion, or there's the absence of delusion. Yes, we can see for many of us how much effort we may put into, actually even intentionally, like to delude ourselves with regards to the presence of the afflictive mental states, whether in ourselves or mostly with regards to ourselves, but also others. How people will even like try to actively ignore seeing things, or like plaster over them in some way, and like, try to make it good, or that kind of thing, but not going down deep in a transformative way, but really like looking away, covering over, intoxicating ourselves, or just like choosing ignorance and like just willful ignorance to just ignore and not see. And there's a way that samadhi practice can sometimes be used like this. And I am not going to put down samadhi practice or any of the folds of the Noble Eightfold Path. It's not my intention to do that. However, I want to say, as Ayasobana was saying, it is important to have relief. It is important to have a refuge. It is important to have something healthy and wholesome and beautiful to turn our minds and hearts to, and to experience that relief, and not having these afflictive states like active in our minds. All that is important, and it is not necessarily the same work as when we choose to turn our awareness consciously to turn back that process of trying to avoid and trying to escape or trying to get away from, almost like, what is it? One example that seems apt is the prisoner has one of those spiky balls and the chain attached to their ankle, and you try to step away from it, but then at a certain point, due to the pulling away, that itself at a certain point will bring it to snap back. So it doesn't really work for an escape. The issue is still there, still bound up. The links that connect and bind that issue are still very much active and present. And so it can seem like you get away from it for moments, and then there's it catching up, right? So then what to do? So then there's the whole aspect of the practice of really turning towards. Yeah. So for mindfulness-based cognitive therapy with regards to the body, one of the first things that there's training in is actually to look at a spot in the body where there's not pain, and identify where that is, and then bring the mind to that place where there's not pain, and then know that you can go there, and you can turn, you can identify where there's not pain, and you can turn to that place. Yes, and it's valuable and important to do that, to learn the skill to do that, to develop our confidence that we know how to do that, that we have this resource, that we have this refuge, this tool, this skill that we can work with and we can use when it's needed. all of that is immensely valuable, but also equally valuable, I would say, and in some ways perhaps more so, is the ability to then consciously, knowingly, intentionally to turn our minds and hearts towards the places of pain and bring them to rest, to touch into, to look into, to be able to hold the places of pain, and then to see what happens when we do so, when we look deeply into what's there, even at the level of the body, to see what happens when we're not in that cycle of resistance and trying to escape or trying to deny or trying to avoid or trying to suppress. All those are so familiar, aren't they? But rather when we consciously, intentionally turn towards. So the Buddha said that what about dukkha in the Buddha's first teaching? Dukkha is to be fully understood. So this is actually with regards to the first of the four noble or ennobling truths. And I find this absolutely so profound and incredible. Of course, for the second noble truth about causation, and especially the third noble truth about the cessation of dukkha, don't we really want to go to the cessation? We want to go to the cessation of the dukkha. And path to get to the cessation of the dukkha, and that's not wrong, it's right. And yet also the ability to really contemplate and look at and touch into the dukkha with the heart that is open to seeing, knowing, understanding, opening up, exploring, touching, holding the heart, the mind of the heart that's great enough, deep enough, broad enough, kind enough, loving enough, compassionate enough, with enough appreciation in mind, in heart, to be able to do that. This part is so important. Otherwise, in a way, if we don't come to that part, it's always an avoidance game. Temporary avoidance. We try to get ahead of it, get one step ahead, try to stay one step ahead, but until we can really turn back and pick it up and look at it and hold it and look into it with a quality of openness of heart, to be able to do that, not denying, then this is where we start to come to then being able to approach the mind that's really undiluted, because we're not being willfully ignorant. We're willfully wishing to see and know what is true, what is actual, what's actually going on with this. So this is the opposite of willful ignorance. This is willful knowing. Yes, ignorance is this would be the opposite would be gnosis, right? It's knowing, the seeing and the knowing. So for Cittānupassana, Upasana also means to see. And then the Pasana, the seeing and the knowing are such partners, such close companions. So for developing the great-hearted qualities and for working with the disentanglement, as I chose this work for exploring the hindrances and then working with the disentanglement, it's like you also have to turn towards and touch and look into, and then open up, allow the things to open up. And when we do that, when we find out that we can do that, when we realize that we also have the ability and the resources and the skills to do this leads to a whole other kind of courage, even intreptitude, which means fearlessness. and a kind of unshakability, because we know that we don't have to be denying and turning away from and running away from, that we can actually turn towards in a way that is safe and healthy and excellent and beautiful and has the real depth. I want to say heart, but in Cittānupassana, this is called mind. But really the depth of heart, mind, the strength, the qualities of heart, mind to be able to do this. And I like to use the phrase to be able to touch, to be able to hold, and to be able to pass through absolutely everything. Absolutely everything, whatever it may be. And I use this phrase for like working with and training the mind. Yeah. So the intention to be able to touch, hold, and also to pass through, to be able to pass through absolutely everything. So it's courage. It's evocative of courage and moral strength and clarity and integrity and kind of power and brilliance. Even, yes, when we talk about our ideals of unconditional love, unconditional compassion, yeah, when we talk about these things at the level of the unconditional, which we, hope and wish for and expect from our parents and our beloveds and our best friends. And, we also, then others may expect that from us. Surprise, no, just me expecting from others, not others to expect from me. They shouldn't do so, right? Because, right? Wouldn't it be wrong if we were to have children and they were to expect that of us? Wouldn't that be crazy for them to do so? And yet we have that. It's kind of almost like an innate wish and longing and expectation to have this, that the Buddha mentioned. There's something inside ourselves that really sees and feels our parents to be our creators, like God. And so then these qualities, like the Brahmavihara qualities, these divine, God-like qualities, and we expect from the unconditional love of our parents. And then we feel something is wrong if they're loving us conditionally, right? And we say also our pets have unconditional love for us. That's why we like them. Yes, because of their unconditional love. But just try not feeding them for a while and see if their love is unconditional still or not. You remember how you trained your pet, all those treats. Remember that. Yeah? But still, we have this sense of the unconditional level of these qualities, and we feel we want it, we need it, even sometimes we expect it and demand it, no matter how impossible it might be, the circumstances that we often apply that to. But this is really like touching into these qualities in ourselves and really going into them and opening them up and then strengthening them and nurturing them and cultivating and developing them and then applying them and finding, wow, yeah, that those thoughts that I had about this and that sense that I felt that it was even hard to explain, and yet still I was trying to find it in the world among people and things, that has a root in my own mind. And coming back into then that root and going into it and finding that root is not necessarily, root is something that's we think is small and is located in time and space in a very narrow way. And yet in this case, not like that. Not like that. It's when you touch into it and open it up, then it becomes boundless and limitless, because that is and liberated, because that's the nature of what is unconditional. So really turning our hearts and minds in this kind of way, in this kind of process, yes? And if we practice alternatingly with samatha and vipassana practices, sometimes actually practicing with the samadhi in one way can then give like a basis of, feeling of the mind, the heart having become clear and pure and powerful and strong, then to be able to bring that, or for the Brahmaviharas, the immeasurables, as immeasurables, then like qualities are there when these are developed very much akin to the fourth jhana, which others might debate about this, but I've heard from various teachers that they suggested that like the fourth jhana is like ideal for going into then vipassana practice. So then the heart that can then turn, and you think about classic vipassana contemplations of dukkhang, aniccang, dukkhang, and anattang. Now, anicca, to be able to turn then and to look really deeply into impermanence. And then also for dukkha. And we have many stories of people, and people often say that they find it much easier to turn to anicca and to really feel the release from turning towards anicca, like looking at the creek and the water flowing, and then to be able to release and to open up and to recognize the nature of things, and like looking at anicca, how soothing that can be and how accessible. And then also people often have quite a fascination with anatta. And like, what is this non-self? And then what is this teaching? And like looking into and opening up and exploring this, and absolutely so important. And there are many who gain their access in this way. Even just last Saturday, we celebrated on the day that Anagarika Panyatara received her Anagarika precepts, and also Ajahn Brahmawara then undertook the seminary precepts. Then on that day, that was the lunar anniversary of the Buddha's teaching of the Anatalakkhana Sutta, the discourse on the characteristics of non-self. And it was through that teaching, according to the traditions, that then the Arahant Sangha emerged in the world. So we say, the first 5 members of the Buddha's Sangha, this teaching on non-self was really, really big and really important. But if you've ever studied this sutta and looked at it, then actually the teachings on anicca, impermanence, and also on dukkha are embedded. They're embedded within that. They're very much a part of the process. I myself have found it just enormously, I'd say, comforting, and just a wonderful refuge to, rather than think about turning away from dukkha, to turn towards this contemplation on dukkha. And when I recognize dukkha, to be able to say, yes, this is dukkha. Dukkha is what I am seeing here. Yes, this is dukkha. So no denial, no turning away, no pushback, no trying, not even trying to escape. About what? Isn't this path to escape dukkha? Isn't that what we're trying to do, is to escape the dukkha? But this is the amazing thing, is how differently it works when you turn towards. You really open up, and then the whole relationship changes, and the dynamics, the process, the dynamics that you had been involved in, the ineffectual attempts to escape from dukkha, and just see what happens when you do that. See what happens. Wow, amazing, amazing, right? What is that chain made of? Is it solid actually after all? Yeah, looking deeply into it and seeing, wow, there are big gaps and spaces there, and it's just made of these like floating electrons or whatever they're called, I don't know, subatomic particles, and these kinds of things, and so much space is there, and there's absolutely so much more emptiness than there is even than all the rest of that, and scientific too, right? But we can actually look in this kind of way and see for ourselves, and what's happening then is the stickiness that was there from the grasping and the rejecting and the seeking and the tanha there. when that starts to unstick and unbind and unentangle and open up, then what remains there in this contemplation, you can see and know it clearly. Then you can also see the dynamics. You start to see how the processes work. And this is often where the insight then comes for people, the insight into causation or non-causation. And then with all that space, then there's space also for the choicefulness that I was talking about, like to pick it up or not to pick it up. See what happens when you pick it up. Those evocative words that were being used during the meditation that you can see in your body, like turning your mind in that kind of way, how the fabrications of dukkha just start gathering together and fabricating, and just within a fraction of a second, even a small thought, and like, what, this is how this can work, and then just whoop back out of that again, and different, not that, differently than that, and this is how this can work. Yeah, so wonderful, right? And then the sensing, the unbinding, the opening up, the releasing, the clarifying, the again unentangling, release, and the freedom, and being able to step into the freedom and then abide in the freedom. For it's excellent even for a fraction of a second, not to mention for a few seconds, not to mention for allowing ourselves a minute or two of such time, not to mention a longer time abiding in such states. And you can see the opportunity for entering into other things, other habits, other patterns, other ways of doing things arising. And then, the inclination, but with that kind of space, then also sometimes you can see the inclination arise, and then know that you actually don't have to. You can just set that inclination down. And coming back to like the grasping faculty, I'm calling that a faculty, then it's useful. They're the things that it's useful for, but just to use it knowingly and wisely and well and choicefully as much as possible, but not to be, not to have it be our slave driver and we its slave. Yes, this is a different relationship. Very, very different relationship. You can have a relationship of friendship and understanding, and for all forms of life, really, they would like actually the happy, effective methods for happiness. And it's just, with ignorance, then it gets applied in a dysfunctional way. So you're trying, but it doesn't work properly and well. So then there's the disappointment, despair, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair kind of dukkha that comes from that. And it's not because that faculty is wrong, it's because of ignorance, not seeing and knowing clearly, and being deluded, not understanding how the things work, or not knowing how to work with them well. And we apply ourselves wrongly in these ways. And it's not just really that it's wrong, it's just because it's ignorant and it's not wise and it doesn't work. It's just you don't need to necessarily say wrong, but just ineffectual. And this is part of the Buddha's own core key insight with regards to things that he had tried before, that he wanted to share right away, right off the top with his companions in asceticism, and letting know what he had by then seen completely clearly about what does not work. Then talking about what does, what he had found actually does. Yeah. So difference between micca ditthi, what is it? False views or wrong views, and then samma ditthi, that we call wise, right views, and then likewise with intentions, and likewise, yes, our mind, our speech, our bodies, our efforts, our ways of engaging in our, whether monastic livelihood or non-monastic livelihood, our applying ourselves. And so I just share these thoughts about this, and it's just one of the most wonderful things that I found to realize, that it can just be so good and excellent and happy to be able to turn towards dukkha in this kind of way, as the Buddha has said. Dukkha is to be understood thoroughly, seen and known and understood. So I'd like to check in if anyone else from here or afar has something that they would like to share, and we'll ask with many thanks to our tech support, and see if one of those who are from afar has something they would like to share. And you have to be really quick if you'd like to. We're coming near the end of our time. Or someone else here has one small thought. It can be great. It can be a great thought, but needs to be expressed short. Anyone else here have what they would like to share? No, you don't have to, but just offering the chance. Oh. Digest, yes, a lot to digest. Oh. This is Seminary Anuvidita speaking, by the way. We can turn a little bit more. Little more, huh? Oh, thank you. Yes. Just one moment, please. We're going to change the mic. Thank you. Okay, you should be now.
The thing that I'm contemplating or try to contemplate a little bit is the point of taking on what we are taking refuge. That is something what I thought today a lot, seeing those two women taking the 8 precepts and the anagarika, and we renovating the precepts, and it's something that to me seems like very interesting. And today in the morning we had this Dhammapada verse where the Buddha says, don't fall in the trap of sensuality, and the little pleasure that you gain out of it. And you also told about this when you were taught that don't intoxicate yourself with the wrong
Can you hear me? I can't either see or hear any of you in the monastery.
Anyone who is for anyone who is hoping for closure, here we are, we're back. And Barbara, lovely to see you. We've been thinking about you daily with loving kindness and sending blessings to you from the forest. So now for everyone here also who was interested in having some closure for our evening program, then this is a good time for it. I'm not showing up? I don't know.
I bow down in gratitude to all your blessings for me.
Oh, thank you. Now is the time for sharing all of these blessings from all of us to all of us. And I had the thought to chant one of the metta chants that I chant regularly, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one or not, but it's quite simple and quite repetitive.
Mhm.
And so if you're not familiar with it, I think anyway, probably you'll remember it afterwards and get a feeling for it, and it might arise for you again under such circumstances. So if you know it, oh, hold on. It says I've been signed out because my account is signed in from another device, or okay. And now we're disappearing into invisibility and reappearing.
Come forth and
This is like dream yoga.
right.
We can turn the Dhamma wheel. And there we go. Okay. Or look, hold on a minute. We can magically be transported to Aranya Bodhi, or no, it's not working. No. Aranya Bodhi background, yes. Look, it's like absolutely like magic, isn't it? Isn't it?
Well, it's beautiful.
Oh yes, this is from the back deck of my kuti at
Really?
Aranya Bodhi. Yes. The
Oh,
miracle of technology is truly amazing. So emerging from the forest. This is Vimutti Glade, Freedom Kuti back deck, and now we've returned to the monastery.
okay.
So that was a lot of fun. I hope so for you too. And we can really see, do we have negative judgments? Are we frustrated and irritated? Or can we bring a heart of lightness and goodwill and to meet the circumstances? And this is something that we'll be looking at again and again. And perhaps in our next session that I'll be joining you for later on in the second month with regards to the exalted mental states. I suspect we may come back to this again. So for now, closing chant. we're going to be alternating Pali, and the Pali lines, the Pali verse is not long. So in case you don't like listening to long Pali, then know that it's going to be short, not long. And then the English that follows is also short, not long. So in case you don't like English chanting, likewise, it's going to be short. It's going to be brief. So we'll be alternating back and forth. And this is how the knowing can sometimes also prevent affliction, being proactive in our knowing. So we'll be chanting then alternating in Pali, English, Pali, English, Pali, English, and the very last part is extremely short. So all of this chanting is probably going to take about 2 minutes or 3 minutes maximum, when the meaning and the heart qualities are really deeply important. And if you know the chant, I'll ask that our tech support turns off the mics of everyone else who's here, so that you're all welcome to chant together if you'd like to, if you know this chant. And everyone who is here who knows it is also welcome to join in the chanting together. And then all our Dhamma friends from afar, near and far around the world, and all beings will be able to experience the beauty and the power of the monastic community chanting these profound verses together. Aham Sukhita Homi Nidukkha Homi Awera Homi Apaya Pacha Homi Anika Homi Sukhi Atanang Pariharami. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. Sabbe sattva sukhita hontum awera hontum apaya pacha hontum anika hontum sukhi atanang pariharantum. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. Sabbe sattva sabbha dukkha pamochantum May all beings be released from all suffering. Sat, sat, sat. So now we're coming to a close for our first Vassa time new moon Uposatha program. And I'd like to think about sharing the blessings of this program, of our Dhamma contemplation, our meditation, if we undertook Sila, especially today, also of our refuges and precepts for ourselves and our deepening and growth in the path and our realizing the fruits of the path, and also to share the blessings with all those that we love and care about, and all living beings that are able to receive our sharing of blessings and merits, especially all those in suffering, for the easing of suffering, for the making peace, freedom, and release from all suffering. For our wish for releasing all beings from suffering, or that all beings be released from suffering, at least we can stop clinging to them in an afflictive kind of way. At least that much we can do. That we can do. And that itself is a great, great thing for ourselves and for others with regards to all other living beings. This we can offer. So then I want to welcome everyone who would like to join on the full moon for the next program. It will be led by Ayasobhana, and also to let know that during the Vassa time, also on Sunday mornings, we have the meditation program, and Sunday afternoons, wonderful sutta reading and discussion group, and Tuesday evenings, also meditation and Dhamma sharing program. When the days and times overlap with the Uposatha program, then they'll be combined. When they don't overlap, then we'll offer both of them, as we're doing right now. So this concludes our first Uposatha program of the 2021 Vassa, exploring Cittānupassana.